Okay, I want to do a quick tutorial on how to access items within a list. This also pertains to strings, but for today's tutorial, I'll just be talking about lists. So let's say I have a list of numbers, and I have a 5 in there, and just a bunch of numbers. Let's see if I can randomly put some numbers in here. It's hard to do things random as a human. But there I got a bunch of numbers, okay? Well, say I wanted to access uh, this item right here. So that's in the 0, 1, 2, 3 position. All I have to do is say nums bracket 3. And that's going to access whatever's inside of nums at this position. Okay? So if I want to do something with that, I'm going to have to save that into a variable or access it some other way. Here I'll just say num equals num sub 3. So now if I printed num, you'll see that if I run this, let's see, hold on, let me, yeah, it does. So I get 2 printed out because 2 is in the 3 positions, 0, 1, 2, 3. Remember that computers count from 0. So if I wanted to print out the 66, that's in the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 position. So if I just change that to a 5, then my num is 66. So likewise, so let's say I have a let's just keep that there for a minute. Let's say I have a function. Let's say I'm supposed to write a function that returns the third item in a list. So I don't know, we'll call this return third item, and it passes it to it a list, and I'm just going to call it my list, just for fun, because I can name it whatever I want. That's my variable. All I have to do here is say my list sub 3, because I think that's what I said, right? This is a method that returns whatever is at index 3 of my list. Okay, that's what this method does. So now down here I could call that method if I wanted to. So if I said num equals, because I want to catch it, return third item, and then I can pass it nums. You pass it my list from right here, and that's going to return whatever's in that list at that index. So now if I printed num, what do you guys think it's going to print? Well, whatever's in the third position of this list, 0, 1, 2, 3, so it should print 2. And it does. Okay? All right, so let's talk about this just for a couple more seconds. What's going on here? This is a function, correct? I've just defined a function. I called it ret third item. That's the name of the function. It has one parameter called myList, and all this function does is return whatever is at my list at index 3. Okay? So now when I call it down here, I'm passing to it nums, which is a list that I defined in the line above it to be this list right here. It would be the same thing as if I took this and just pasted that in there. That would work just the same way. Okay? I still get 2. So it's the same thing. I'm just defining a list here. I'm calling it nums. And then here I'm calling the ret third item function, passing it to that list, nums. And then whatever return third item returns, I'm dumping into this variable I'm calling num, and then I'm printing it. Again, I can, a lot of these things are, I can name whatever I want to. I can name this whatever I want to. I can name this whatever I want to, and I can name this list and this variable whatever I want to. Those are my names. I could name, if I wanted this to be number, that would make sense too. Number and num are kind of the same, right? I want to name it something that makes sense. In this case, it is a number. I could also say third item. That makes sense because that's what this method does. Is it returns the third item. So I can just call this variable third item. At any rate, I hope that makes sense. Play with this yourself and learn how to access items at an index. What if I passed it this list and it didn't have enough items to suffice? This is going to try to grab whatever's at index 3. Well, now there's no index 3 here. There's index 0, and there is index 1. There's no 2 or 3 or 4. There's only 2 items in this list. So if I were to run this now, I'm going to get an error, and it's going to say index out of range. Okay, it's going to point to the line that's the problem, and because this is where my code crashed, because this is where it tried to access something at an index that was not valid. Okay, so whenever you see index out of range in your error message down here, it means you're trying to access an item inside of a list or a string that doesn't exist. Okay, all right, I hope that helps and makes sense. Thanks.